Hi Libra, this is your June 2023 reading using the tarot. I'm going to start though with an archetype card just to figure out what you've been embodying lately. The astrology for June is incredibly complementary to those with Libra placements. Both Mars and Venus are in the sign of Leo. They're going to be making a sextile to any of your Libra placements, very opportune. All of the inner planets are actually moving through signs that aspect you in a harmonious way. The Sun and Mercury in Gemini, fellow air sign, are trining your Libra placements, flow of harmonious energy without any blocks. And both of the lunations this month, the new moon at the beginning of the month in Sagittarius, sextile to you, the full moon near the end of the month in Gemini, trine to you. This is going to be an amazing month for you if the astrology has anything to say about that matter. Let's start with an archetype card before looking into things deeper with the tarot. I'm particularly looking forward to the June 18th full moon in Gemini. It's going to be making a trine to my Libra rising, so bring it on. Oh, and it's conjunct my Mars. I love that. We're working with the vow. Ooh, that sounds like very, very promising energy. The promise, the oath, the contract. When the vow is spoken, the air shifts, karmic ties are formed, and destiny tilts on its axis. Our words and intentions have immense power. There is a reason the great mythic stories of our past often include recitation of oaths and the mixing of drops of blood as a mark of union. The tricky part is that reciting the vow, no matter how casually, activates the eternal and unforeseen forces of the world. The ancestors bear witness. The laws of nature respond. These promises cannot be unsaid or forgotten, so breaking them can leave lingering complexities and loose ends. This card calls us to acknowledge the vow we are living by, consciously or unconsciously, and either recommit to it or create a ritual that signifies its closure. You've been underestimating the power of your promises. When this card is light, you will experience bearing witness this month to the shift towards your destiny. In its shadow, unconscious vows, unkept promises, and messy karma. So I've been reading a certain part of past life experience when, signatures in Gemini in particular are involved, because that's about our words. And in different past lives, we may have made a promise, I will die for you. Maybe these are going to be two soldiers in battle. And we're going to have to keep meeting that person again and again until that vow is honored or broken in a kind of safe way. So you may be underestimating the power of your words. Mercury in Gemini is going to be really reinforcing the power of your words from the 11th of June onwards. So this is a good thing. It's empowering to know how much your words this month are going to have like an impact, so it's going to be a really good time for manifestation through repetitive chanting or repeating the vows that you're making to yourself that you want to honor. It did mention something about the air shifting. It is Gemini season. You are an air sign, so I think that this is going to be very much working in your favor this month. Let's look at the tarot cards now. I feel like your words have a special power behind them this month, Libra. And not to go all Jungian on your ass here, but when we are in a ceremonial setting of speaking vows, I believe that's when we are embodying the archetype of ritual. During ritual, time stands still, anything is possible. I would use the new moon in Gemini on the 19th, 18th of June to manifest what you want to set intentions around. And I would also use the full moon in Sagittarius on June 3rd to shift any stale beliefs and try to expand to a higher perception. Knight of Wands, Sagittarian energy to start the month around that new moon. The Strength card in reverse. The Ten of Cups, absolutely love that card. The Fool card, So lots of major arcana so far. The Three of Pentacles, I should say. The Eight of Wands. The Hermit. The Devil. The King of Wands. That's the elevated Leo energy. And the Seven of Pentacles. Now might be a good time to take a screenshot of this perhaps, but I am going to pull a couple more cards just to flesh this out ever so slightly. I'll meet you back on camera though. If you want to just skip to that, you're welcome to. I'll meet you back on camera and we will discuss what's coming through. We've got the very fortunate fixed star of Sirius found in the constellation of Cancer, which Cancer season is only around the corner. The sun moves into Cancer on June 22nd. So you may be finding yourself having some answers to your questions or getting good news around the 22nd of June onwards. Pulling a few archetype cards for you too to flesh this out even further. With starvation, these look like they're past life signatures, and marine coming through. Don't get too freaked out by the archetype cards. I typically use these for past life readings. Let's meet on camera and get right into it. To me, the vow has now just had a more enhanced message because of the archetype cards from a past life that have come through. I get the sense that you have made a promise or a commitment to somebody in a past life that is continued to be honored in this lifetime. It seems like there was an energy that was cut short, and you know, there might have been an accident that separated you from somebody in a past life. This could be coming up as a somebody in this current life that maybe lives overseas, where you've had to travel overseas to honor this commitment and promise that you've made to one another. There was something in the past life that left you guys starved of something, starved of connection, I believe, and starved of the unfulfilled promise and the vow that was broken inadvertently, I believe, through some sort of an accident. The Knight of Wands, as the first card that came through, is tied into the King of Wands. So you are focused on mastery of some sort of a passion project, some sort of a commitment, I think, to getting what you want. The King of Wands never settles for less. This is coming up in your hopes position. This is when they have reached mastery. This isn't to say that June is the month where this happens. In fact, I see the Seven of Pentacles being in the outcome that even towards the end of June, you're still on some level slightly frustrated by the speed that this is moving at. But what you are not short of this month is activating extremely happy, wholesome, warm memories and just feeling overall very good emotionally, almost like saturated with good feeling, saturated with connection, and really stepping into what the important things in life are. You are going to make a lot of happy memories this month in June. So the Knight of Wands being the first card that came through. Well, I see that as direction-based efforts. So you're taking a goal right into your hands, and almost everything you're doing is furthering you towards this goal. And eventually the hope is, and I believe the quite obvious trajectory that this is on, is going to be towards leveling up and mastery in this field. The Knight of Wands, however, tells me that on the 3rd of June, during that Sagittarius new moon, you are going to have to let go of, I think, certain beliefs that you have to prove something about yourself. That's where the Strength card in reverse is coming through as a challenge that blocks you on your mission at the moment. And let's have a little dive into that. This new moon in Sagittarius is going to be quite an expansive, higher-minded, full moon. So we're going to be letting go of something that's previously stopped us from seeing things from a higher vantage point or from seeing things from a more enlarged perspective. So it's time for you to let go of any self-limiting beliefs, but especially letting go of beliefs where you have to prove yourself to anybody. This is an ego desire. With Strength card in reverse, we're seeing that the ego has kind of taken the reins on something that you started with really good intentions. But because the Devil card here in your environment, what is that saying? The road to hell is paved by good intentions, or good intentions pave the way to hell. I'm not exactly sure which way that goes, but we hear so many people saying, I thought I was doing the right thing. Well, that's not necessarily going to really hold up in the eyes of, you know, the kind of macrocosm of events. You want to just make sure that everything you're doing is coming from a true, authentic place of, this is my purpose, this is what I'm meant to be doing. And I know that you have that sense. It's actually the biggest theme of the whole month, this Knight of Wands. This is my purpose. The Strength card in the reverse position could also be showing up as petty people around you, that you are kind of, they're just mirrors for you, because anyone who's kind of like petty or undermines you, that could be showing you where you may be undermining yourself a little bit on this direction towards your goal. But what seems to be the number one priority, at least for you, is good times with people that you love. The 10 of Cups here is a beautiful family scene under a constellation. I'd imagine that there's a nice tent pitched somewhere close by. This could suggest a camping trip, of course, or something around a fire pit. If you find yourself under a fire pit or around fire this month, we've got a lot of activity in Leo this month, so you may be inspired to make a wish upon a star. And you know what, wish big, Libra, because this is also just confirming to me that the people that you're around this month are the people that you want to be around this month. And it's just good times with good people, fun memories being activated, and just all around really good times. In your more subconscious layer of what's going on this month, a little bit under the surface, you may not fully be aware of this, but because it's such a powerful Fool card archetype, the archetype of taking a chance, stepping into the void. I'm going to butcher this quote, but I was like reading a quote by Terence McKenna, who I'm a big fan of, for various reasons. But this is going to be talking about nature always providing for us what we need, the universe essentially providing what we need for anything that we want. And once we take that step into the void, into the abyss, he ended the quote with saying, when we take a step into the void, maybe I'm paraphrasing, we find that the cliff we jump off of is our landing pad is a feathered bed, basically. So your subconscious mind already knows this, because you've had tried and tested validation that when you do take a chance on something, when you do surrender and trust and initiate and begin something for the first time, quite often you are supported. And nature, I think that's what Terence McKenna calls it, nature provides you everything you need, and the power of nature, trusting in that, actually has the power to remove all obstacles in your way. So having this Fool card show up in your subconscious is actually really good for me to see, because to me that just suggests that there aren't any blocks in your subconscious mind when it comes to taking chances, taking risks, because you feel very optimistic about all of that overall. The Sirius card is about, basically this card rose above the horizon and was seen in the heat of the summer, the height of the summer, in the constellation of Cancer. It signaled the annual flooding of the Nile. You may be drawn towards Egyptology, but this is actually going to just really signal the end of any drought or famine, metaphorically, in your life. But we do have starvation, which is very interesting. What have you been bringing this to a current life setting now? The Sirius appearing in the sky as a fixed star says that the drought is over, the famine is over. It's a time of cultivation, it's a time of abundance. So perhaps there's some sort of a mindset that is more starved of something. Starved of, I feel like it's some sort of a connection. Just because of that vow card, I feel like there was a promise that was made in a past life or even in this life. Maybe you could check in with the promises that you've made for yourself and see if they're being upheld or not. Another thing you could perhaps ponder on it, as maybe even you get later into the month of June, when the sun does move into Cancer and we're closer to the heart of the summer on the northern hemisphere, where at least Egypt is, maybe you could ponder perhaps what you've been starving yourself of and what you need to indulge in a little bit more. We don't want to be in an archetype of starvation. This does not, of course, have to translate as anything literal, but this may be speaking to select people watching that have been choosing to starve themselves of what they truly need on an emotional, physical level, no matter what that is. And you are given an opportunity, because your words have so much extra power this month, Libra, with all of the inner planets making harmonious aspects to Libra. I mean, that's great. That doesn't happen all the time. So use the vow said something about the air is shifting now. Air is words, communication, it's the flow and the stream of consciousness. Use your words wisely. Be careful about what you say. Remember that all words are a spell, and remember that you have power now to uphold any promises to yourself and indulge yourself in what it is that you truly need, what your soul is craving, rather than what your ego is directing you to experience or to prove. I really see with strength in reverse, it's like a need to prove something. Health though, and physical body. I'm of course no expert when it comes to health, but when I see starvation and strength card, because strength upright is about physical vitality, in reverse it can be the depletion of that. So if you're trying to, I don't know, I'm seeing fad diets or extreme fasting and things like that, that may not be the greatest idea this month, and you could be checking in with something that actually nourishes you more than starving yourself of anything. That's what I just see around the physical body, basically starving yourself of anything, but when it comes to physical health and well-being, not getting the correct nourishment that you need, and to perhaps put a focus towards that. You chose to make this vow to yourself and to others from a soul desire. Desires originate from the soul. It transmutes little messages from Pluto, the soul, to the lower octave Mars, which is more about the I'm going to do it now, I'm going to act on my desires, says Mars. But they came from Pluto, the soul. And that's when, Mars is a little bit more egoic than Pluto. And, Pluto will say, I want to experience this so my soul can evolve. It will send the signals to Mars to act on that in the real world and basically have the experiences. So your desires do come from a true soul-centered place, but something has gone haywire with the strength card in reverse. Yes, you're taking the action. Yes, you're going the right way, but there's something about it that is more about you proving a point. I told you I could do it. Oh, if you doubted me, in your face. All well and good, all normal, no judgment here. But what is missing then for you is, you're just draining yourself of a little bit of the power that your soul really just wants to experience this purpose, this mission, as easily, not necessarily as easily, but as purely as possible. Recently though, you've had such a, such a confirmation of the people around you rooting for you. The Three of Pentacles is true collaboration, and there is no hierarchy here. Everybody comes together and fulfills the mission together. So there is something more about June having to do a bit of the work more solo, or focus on what your part to play is. That's the Knight of Wands. But we can't discount that people have helped you on your merry way, and that's amazing. These could be people from your soul family that have arrived or appeared and want to help you with your mission. Any teamwork, any networking, any people that you've just been associating with recently. This is the card of the past, so we could be taking this back to May or beyond, where it's all worked out very well, and you just feel like you're, it's a good litmus test for where you are, because the expression you are who you surround yourself with is coming up for me now. So that would be, what are the people that you've been surrounding yourself with lately? Are they aspirational like you, Libra? It looks like that to me, at least. So that's good indicators for recent friendship ties and social networks, and just anything in your social sphere having gone very well lately. And you really truly are now prioritizing the real ones, I think, this month. The true people that you just like spending time with, the ones that you look forward to spending time with and do not drain you whatsoever. They light your fire, basically. Marine coming through with the Eight of Wands, I think. We're seeing a trip perhaps overseas. This could be part of a contract that you've made with someone in this lifetime or in the recent past, where you promised to visit them overseas or have them visit you. But this is an up and coming energy for, let's say, from around the 11th of June onwards. Just throwing that out there. It's when Mercury moves into Gemini, and it's where my dad's birthday is falling, who has Mercury in Gemini too. And this is about, I think that Mercury in Gemini and Gemini placements, mainly Mercury in Gemini and Sun in Gemini, I would say, have an ability to truly see things from everybody's point of view. The full moon in Sagittarius at the beginning of the month is going to give you an opportunity to let go of anything that you were rigid with. That's Strength card in reverse. Strength card in reverse is very powerful. It's got a grip as strong as Strength card upright. So you may have been holding on to beliefs that are truly not conducive to your growth. And Gemini is about cultivating an open mind. So from the 11th of June onwards, a cross-cultural experience, museums, speaking to people from different, religious backgrounds or just different walks of life could really help you open your mind. But I see a trip in store for you in mid-June, or at least, exploring your local area. Gemini is associated with the third house in astrology. Not exclusively, but there is a tie there. And what I would say about that is there's so much to see in your local neighborhood. What's your third house? What does your third house look like when you step outside? Who's your hairdresser? Who is your barista? Who's the local artist on the street? Whoever it is, whoever you see on a day-to-day basis in your third house, that's actually going to be super expansive. You don't even need to go too far afield. For some, I think it will be an overseas trip. But however, or a trip to the beach, a trip to the lake, the pond, the river. That's going to be just where you get some vitality and life. But overall, from 11th of June onwards, once Gemini is going to zip through the sign. Mercury's going to zip through Gemini. See, I'm getting tongue-tied even before the month is out. It enters on June 11th. I think it's out of Gemini way before the end of June as well, because Mercury just moves so fast through Gemini. So I just feel like that's going to be a rush for you. From the 11th of June to, let's say, the 22nd of June, when the sun moves into Cancer and we kind of sink into our emotional world a little bit more, I feel like that's just going to be a whirlwind. I feel like those 10 days are going to be like a blink and you miss it. You probably have a lot going on at that point, and it's just going to be kind of like a fast-paced, swift energy. But what you may find in that little blur is that things sync up for you. The Eight of Wands speaks to you throwing something out there, you're just throwing stuff at the wall, seeing what sticks, and things that stick are what are meant to be for you, because the Eight of Wands really speaks to synchronization, I believe. The Hermit card in your highest self position. So I think this is the first time that we're seeing a call from your highest self contradict things that you're doing. I mean, in this reading at least. The Hermit card is saying to you, have you got any date in this month ahead where you're going to just be on your own in reflection? Have you got any time to yourself carved out? The highest self is saying, can you please do that? Can you make sure that you can, enter your metaphoric or metaphysical conscious cave, or go to your metaphoric mountain? Go to a cave, go to a mountain in real life. That would be also advice from the highest self. That's not going to be attainable for everybody, but the Hermit card just asks you to surrender to solitude at some point this month, because you might need that restoration. The Devil card in your environment. This is a tricky one, because the environment isn't necessarily related to you, but it is oftentimes a reflection. The Devil card speaks to temptation in your environment. Temptation, again, to prove a point. Temptation to kind of regress towards old ways of thinking in particular and old belief patterns that are quite deeply ingrained. I would use your vow energy so much on that 3rd of June full moon in Sagittarius to kind of like, even if you're not sure what the belief is that's outdated, the Devil card tells me that something has still got some sort of a hold on your psyche where you could just be better without it. And like, that's the thing with the Devil. Like the Devil isn't just prancing around, is he? He's not just walking down the street. The Devil energy will creep through the cracks. And when we're vulnerable, when when we're impaired, our judgment with a substance like alcohol, which alcohol, the demon, right? This is when the Devil card can kind of see that, you're vulnerable right now. I'm going to have a little bit of fun with you, and that's when we can make some bad choices, right? So the Devil card is in your environment is just looking for a crack to get in. But if you've checked all the doors, if you've checked all the windows, he ain't getting in, and you can kind of just acknowledge the temptation as it comes up to default, to give your power away, to regress to sort of karma that you thought you had cleared. And you can kind of just almost like laugh at that or acknowledge it rather than being like, oh my God, what are you talking about? That's so scary. It's really not. It's really not scary. And when we know ourselves and are acting in integrity for the highest and best for ourselves and others, then there's no crack to get in, right? So just be aware that in the environment there are certain cracks that could be exploited by others that do not wish the highest and best for you, but overall you're in a very strong position, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. The Devil card in your environment could just suggest for some that temptation is always there. The King of this month, not always. The King of Wands, of course, we talked a little bit about that. It's just your hope to get to where you want to be. And enjoy the Knight of Wands, right? Because the King of Wands is still a hope. And I feel like it's not going to be hard for you to achieve, especially with Sirius, which is like very much about good fortune, basically. Yeah, good fortune overall. I feel like you experienced this. I think this is at 14 degrees of Cancer. I think Venus was around 14 degrees of Cancer. When would that have been? Let me just like do my little my brain ephemeris right now. That would have been around like the 20th, I guess, of May. So you may have had like the answer to your prayers or good news come through then. So think back to then and think back to how far you've even come from then or how you felt around then. If you can just do a little self-reflection on that. But anyway, what I'm saying is enjoy being a Knight of Wands energy, because that's where we're at now. We want to remain very present, because that's, all we have kind of somewhat semblance of control in this realm over is the present moment. And I think that you can hope and wish to be at King of Wands, and why not? It's good to have these aspirations around mastery and just a real sense of establishment with the King of Wands, but enjoy the present moment of things being more mutable. 8 of Wands, Knight of Wands, things are changing. Nothing is set in stone for you this month, Libra, and that's a gift in and of itself, because you get to add, you get to chop and change, you get to add the cherry on top. Mutable energy is my favorite because it's so flexible and adaptable. It's never weighed down by anything of a permanent sense, because I guess mutable placements in your chart, that's where you can lean into that flexibility and that knowledge of knowing that nothing is permanent anyway. So just enjoy the present, enjoy the stage that you're at now, because the 7 of Pentacles towards the end of the month, it's not a bad card by any means. This is for me one of the most kind of like, it's just a weird one in the deck, isn't it? It's like it's neither good nor bad, and it's not like black or white either. It's like there is progress happening in the 7 of Wands. There's frustration, but there's also the obvious progress that's been made. As I said that on this recording, it's not going to show up for you guys because I've got a few, I've recorded the intro and then the card pull, but it was 22 minutes and 22 seconds. So that's a real sign of alignment. So you're really where you're meant to be at this point. And the 7 of Pentacles is just showing that by the end of the month, and funnily enough, I'm taking this as when Cancer part of your chart is activated more with the sun moving in there on the 22nd of June thereabouts. it's kind of like at that point you're like, oh, that's when the emotions kick in, and you're like feeling like, I get so sulky now when I talk about Cancer, but like feeling like that I should be somewhere else. You've had so much fun all month. It's just been air and fire, and air and fire elements are just raring to go. They're social, they're elevated, they're lifting up. So just really enjoy that, and remember that you're exactly where you're meant to be. Even at the end of the month, you feel frustrated. That's what I've got to say. Okay, Libra, if this sounded like it's talking about a love and relationship reading on any level, I've got an exclusive relationship reading, which I'll link below. It's going to be found on my Patreon. This would be an amazing time to subscribe if you haven't already. Much love. Bye.